Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the first of what will hopefully be many seasonal online design classes. Since COVID restrictions have put a damper on our in-store class nights, we thought we would try something a little new and try it this way. Since I'm videoing this in my own kitchen, at my own kitchen counter, I don't have to speak to you through a mask. It does mean that my co-workers, Lee and Sierra, can't join in on the fun though, but Sierra will have to take over the video posting once we're done taping today. I would suggest making an evening of it with a couple of your very close friends. Pour a favorite beverage, find a spot that's comfortable. We will have the kits available that you can come into the store and buy. The Cornucopia itself can be bought as a kit. The wicker basket, we're using a PB100 design bowl because the liner that comes with the cornucopias don't hold very much water and you'd be watering it constantly. So we're using a PB100 dish so that you can properly water your flowers. And we'll put it in about 3 stems of leather leaf is probably what you're going to use for a base. And we have this nice little Thanksgiving pumpkin pick that we're also going to put in there. This basic kit starter is going to cost you $20. And then you would have your choice of what you're going to put in for flowers. At work today, I chose what we call a radiance bouquet. We sell this one for $20. It's going to give me enough flowers to plentiful fill my cornucopia container, and it's also going to give us enough leftover flowers that then we're going to fill this nice little cube, and you can use that as another accent table. You could put it on your kitchen island, you can put it in your bathroom when you're entertaining, wherever you like. So let's get started. I would suggest make sure you don't want to ever use the scissors at home when you're cutting your flowers. You want either a sharp little paring knife that you can use as a design knife. At Safeway now we use these nice little yellow garden shears because they're a little safer. You're not going to cut yourself quite as easily. And hopefully on the screen you're going to be able to kind of see my parameters here. I like to start kind of with what I call my outside perimeter, and I do kind of my outside round. So I do the outside of my container first. Okay, and then that's going to be the maximum where our flowers will go to. We don't really extend beyond where our greens are, and that gives us kind of our starting point. And kind of what'll be our maximum height guide. And pumpkin pick. You can hear the meowing in the background. That's just my buddy Carlos. He'd really like to come out and join the class, but he's not really a lot of help. Okay, inside the radiance bouquet, we have some Soleil greens that we're going to add to the leather leaf, and we're just going to use that to fill in some of our spaces. You don't have to worry about having your greens solidly greened because you can always go in and add a little bit more greenery to it afterwards. And I always find some of the fancier greens add a nice little touch. That sometimes there's, we had some oak leaves in the store this week. Gave us a nice little fall color. Even some of the dried product, you can usually buy dried oak leaves in some of the stores. That gives you something artificial that you can tuck away and save for next year. Okay, so you can see there we've got it mostly greened in. And like I say, we can always add a touch more greenery when we are done. So this one had the stem of the lilies to it. There was actually a long enough break at the top of the lily that I cut the tip off of there, because we don't want it coming out overly high if it's going to be our centerpiece at the table. And then that gives me 2 stems now that we can put in somewhere else. Couple of purple carnations into this one. You might go just strictly the fall colors. I always love to put in just a touch of that purple. It just kind of gives it that pop of color for me. Some alstroemeria in here. We're just going to pop that one in the top. It's still fairly tight, but it will open up. Alstroemeria is one of my favorites. It doesn't always look like a lot for flowers when it's still tight, but it will open up, and it's one of the longest lasting cut flowers that you can actually buy. So. Okay, so as you see, I'm sticking, nothing is going beyond my greens on the edge here. Make sure you give it a little bit of different heights so that you've got some depth to your flowers. You don't want everything just kind of all at the same height, or it's just going to end up as one big lump. But you want to give it a lot of dimension. Cornucopia is a very old school flower arrangement. It's been around at least as long as I've been doing this, which is pushing 40 years next year, but it's still one of my favorites. I love the colors of fall, so it tends to be one of my favorite seasons, at least in the flower shop. And you can see that's kind of the length of most of your flowers that you want to cut them to. Any leaves that are going to be going into, we have Oasis foam that was inside your PB100 container, which we will supply with your container for you. We'll have the right size in there. You want to make sure any leaves that are going to go into that foam are removed, and make sure you're inserting at least a good inch into the foam when you put your flowers into your Oasis. That way it makes sure that they are drinking the water, and make sure that your Oasis stays just a little bit of water in the bottom of your containers. Once your container is on your table and not moving around, you want to make sure that it stays full of water all the time. Okay. So that is our Horn of Plenty Cornucopia container. Okay, so you see, nothing comes outside the perimeter of those greens that I put in our very first step. It's rounded at the top. Got our little pumpkin in there. If you like, you can kind of bring the pumpkin out a little bit more. And now we still have quite a bit of extra cuts out of that $19.99 Radiance bouquet. So now we're going to do the cube. Now these, whether it's a cube or it can be any type of rounded container, basically you want something that's got a little bit of height to it and not too large of a mouth to it. So usually we have some ceramic containers that we use in the store, or these cubes. And this is generally just an easy little hand-tied cluster that you can make. Unless you're putting your flowers into a vase, if you're using Oasis, usually you will find that you have shorter breaks. Some of the breaks you can take off of your longer stems of flowers that you can use for something like the cubes, or you will have a little bit of leftovers that you just don't really have room for. So we find the cubes a nice little way to use up anything that's left behind. Greens into a few smaller pieces. And we'll just trim the loose ends off of this one. Got a little bit of a stem left there. Slide that guy out of the way so you can see here. Okay, so now I'm just going to gather everything into my hand. Had some wheat in the container, the bouquet there. I didn't use it in the cornucopia because we already had the pumpkin pick. Could add it in there for a little bit more fall, but I think it's just going to give us a little nice touch to this one. Okay, so got our flowers all kind of rounded in there. Just got leftover leather leaf here because I brought home 5 stems just in case. We only used the 3 in the cornucopia for the base. Tips off so they're not extending too far past my flowers. Okay, I'm going to cut our stems nice and short. And just going to use a regular elastic band. Tie it around the bottom of our stems. Okay, cozy cube that we can put on my kitchen island here when we serve dinner on Thanksgiving Sunday. Okay, that's all there is to it, guys. We hope you decide to come by the store and pick up a kit and try your hand out at it at home. And remember, come by early to make sure that we're not sold out of the kits. Have fun, and remember, at Safeway Lawson Heights, it's not fall, we call it rider season. Good night.